Okay, welcome to another episode of the New Labor Movement Show. I am one of your hosts, Troy.
I am Ray.
Back to go over another week of local law, labor, and politics. This, I will be glad, could be hopefully like the last real show having to do of national politics, and we could really kind of get into the meat of some local stuff. But I guess this is just kind of the finish off of the election that just passed.
Well, I think we're gonna have some interesting stuff locally because there's a lot of outstanding. New York today just started counting their ballots, so now they're gonna see if they can. They're gonna see if they can take Nicole Malliotakis out.
Because that's on our list to talk about today.
Max Rose has not given up the fight, as they say. I think he's down almost 15% or more. He's down big with her. And it's funny because, and again, I'm not about, I'm going to discuss which candidate I am for or which candidate I'm against. I think as a union member, we want to make sure that the elections are fair. And I want people I wouldn't want the election tipped in the favor of my person and they won. I wouldn't want the election tipped in favor of the other guy and I lose. I want to make sure that democracy is it's like a handshake. It's voluntary. And once people start to think that it's not legit, it'll spiral very, very.
Regardless to what, and I look at her platform. I just look at what she's done since she's been in office, like the things she runs on, and I can't really find any kind of substance to anything with her campaign. And then I'm looking at like the day after they interviewed her on a talk show about what her three main goals are, going into office. And I know she measures something like a seawall for Staten Island, trying to do something on infrastructure, and one more thing. And he pointed out like, wow, those three things that you just mentioned are like three things, the same thing that your opponent and the Democratic Party support is like. It's kind of hard to understand what's the difference between the two. And I think it's more, if anything, like it's tribalism. The people that vote in her district most likely voted Republican because that's what they used to vote in. Because one of the worst things I didn't like about her race, and that I know there's people out there who are union members, is I'm not voting for nobody to cross the strike line. Simple as that. Unless you have to have a lot of other things stacked up on your side to show me against your opponent why you're gonna tell me why you voted for somebody that crossed the strike line.
Listen, I don't know how many unions are living there, so without knowing the union vote, I can't really say. I don't imagine that that the union people are the 15% majority. There are union people for and union people voted against her. It seemed to me that one of the main things if you notice, a lot of people who consider themselves, Max Rose advertised himself as a moderate Democrat, and a lot of moderate Democrats, I think right now they say he's up to 10 moderate Democrats are going to lose, and Republicans are going to pick up those spots in like Virginia, one in Philadelphia, Max Rose, these guys who are in like kind of swing districts, and they're getting hurt. And the number one thing they're getting hurt by is the defund the police. And unfortunately, Max Rose was at all the rallies. He was supported. He was in it, hook, line, and sinker. And I believe, in my humble opinion, that's what got him out. And I'm not saying who I voted for, who I didn't vote for, but if you are a person where you think defund the police is a legitimate reason not to vote for someone, he had that, and she did not.
And that's the funny. And
I don't know. I mean, well,
no, sir. That's the thing. That's funny as well, because what I don't understand is, number one, what does that mean and what do you put to the side? I wonder, and sometimes I wonder, what do people actually know about the candidates? Sometimes they just go out and vote on one particular thing that they might have heard without doing any other further research into the candidate. When he said he was for defund the police, I'm pretty sure that I've seen on Max Rose's campaigns that he said he was not for defunding the police. But what they did get him for, though, was he was in the march and the protests against the killing of George Floyd. So because he was in the march with the protests, they associate him with, oh, he's defund the police. Now, you ask the mass group of people if they say that the killing of George Floyd was wrong. I believe you're going to have 99.9% say that, yes, that was wrong, what happened. So you have him march with the people that's protesting, that's saying that was wrong, and then he automatically is associated with defund the police, even though he would say, no, I'm not for it, but they would associate with him anyway. And that's just something that just irks me.
Listen, I'll be the first, is like, you got some people out there who are like claiming that, that the election was stolen from Trump by Biden. I believe the irregularities. I do think there have even been illegal votes. I would not go as far to say that the election has been stolen, because that's a leap is going to require a lot of proof, not a little proof, not incidental proof. That's going to require, if you tell me that in Wisconsin, 1,000 people who were dead voted and another 1,000 people voted who were out of state, I could believe that. But when someone loses by 20,000, doesn't change the outcome. Right. Now, that doesn't mean we shouldn't track it down and try to plug the holes.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Correct.
I think that unfortunately, you get one person found 3 people dead and they voted and they think, well, 3 must mean 3 million. And right. I think that is, yes, we should track down every legitimate angle of voter fraud, but it is because you want to plug the system. But that does not mean that the will of the people has not been adhered to yet. I have not seen anything that makes me think that there's a 20 or 30 or 40,000 block of votes magically or disappeared yet. I personally have not seen that proof. I personally have not heard anyone who I would consider legitimate assert that.
One of the things I want to speak to regarding and this is just some of the things it's just some of the stuff I don't understand. Like really, so like Florida, we're looking at, say, Florida, and the state went to President Trump won that outright early on. It was called for him.
Pretty sizable. He did pretty good there.
Right. And then this is, and then other GOP candidates did it as well. So these are part of some of the things with voting I don't understand. So there was a ballot initiative on the ballot in Florida in order to increase the minimum wage to $15 per hour. That $15 per hour minimum wage ballot was approved by 62%. So 62% of the people, that's an overwhelming majority, even more than Trump won that state by, voted for $15 an hour minimum wage. But for year upon year upon year, the party that always wins that state, which is red, have done everything to fight and oppose a $15 hour minimum wage. So what I don't understand is, why are people continuously voting year after year after year to put out to vote in people who are fighting against the thing that the majority of you want? Why are you continuously voting year after year against your own interests? What is it?
You know what the problem is there, when you have just parties, you're going to have 3 or 4 things you like about the party you voted for, and 3 or 4 things you don't like about the party. And basically you hold your nose and you vote, and you say to yourself, what's more important? And I guess that must be what people do. Because there's no, think about this, the candidate out that is for the minimum wage, school choice, the Second Amendment, and what's another something that's pretty universal health care. You can get one person who's all those things. You're going to get someone who's 3 of those things I mentioned and someone who's 3 of those other things I mentioned.
Now the question is then, which one do you put on top? Wouldn't you think that employment, job, wages would be on the top priority over those other ones?
No, maybe no. You know, all right, think about it. Have someone who is not going to be in a minimum wage job because they have opportunities, but they have 3 kids. So for them, the most important thing is going to be school choice, which is going to be a Republican thing predominantly. Where minimum wage, it'd be predominantly a Democratic thing. So that you may think they're voting against them, so they're really they may have something that's more important to them. I'm someone who doesn't have kids, and I have a decent job, but I don't want that criminal reform is going. Democrats want to make sure it's cashless bail. I want to make sure that the police are able to do what they got. That's the thing. Now, I may be someone who is poor or at minimum wage. I can't afford care for me and my kids because I'm just a little too rich to get Medicare or Medicaid, but I'm too poor to pay for it on my own. Now, guess what's the most important thing to me? Universal health care.
I understand that. Now, only thing is, I still don't understand though, if that's the and I figure that might be outliers. How is it still a large percentage then that when that's a ballot initiative by itself, that it gets voted on by such a large margin?
Think about it. Most people probably only vote on 1, 2 things. You know, you don't have very few people are like you and I, where we have like, think about 5 or 6 things. People, it's and or that, one or the other. Like for a lot of people who voted for Trump, it was probably their main thing probably would have been immigration. Or it would have been he's not Hillary. You know what I'm saying?
It wasn't that. It couldn't have been that this time.
No, let's be realistic. I don't really think constituency for Biden, other than he's not Trump. Biden is not what I would consider a very forward-thinking, charismatic guy with a ton of ideas. I mean, the guy's basically an empty suit, but he's not Trump. And I think the country is going through what, the country's probably thinking to itself, we just had a 4-year-long argument. Joe Biden may be taxed, but at least we won't be arguing anymore. And you know what? That helps because everything he's going to do when it comes to coronavirus is going to be almost 95% what Trump did. He's just going to say so. And listen, I hope to God that whatever he does works because I would love to get back to normal. I always root for the office, not the person.
I do not understand. Once again, Lindsey Graham, Mitch McConnell. Lindsey Graham, let's go with him first.
I'm not a huge Lindsey Graham guy. He grew a pair under Trump, but before that, he was definitely very wishy-washy.
Grew a pair. I say he lost a pair under Trump.
No, I think he
gave him away.
He actually grew it.
Listen. If you look at the things Lindsey Graham, this was one of his things. One of his best friends was Senator John McCain, and then you look at his comments and what he thought of Trump and the things he said of him before Trump showed how popular he was, and then it was completely opposite of what happened when he found out, oh, this guy has a lot of people who support him. So then it became to a point where it's groveling and sucking up and begging and being a sycophant to anything he said, even when he was basically defaming the name of your dearest friend under him. You did whatever you could to grovel under that man, lied, cheat, your word was nothing. How do you elect a person who sits in front of you and tells you to take him at his word and hold me responsible for it, and then completely goes back on that word with no other reason? And you look at that person as, yes, that's my guy. I don't know how some people look at certain things that people do and be like, yeah, that's my guy. I think when people do things like that and the general public lets them get away with it, it lets them know, like, listen, I could do anything to these people and they would not do it as long as I'm on the right side of the fence.
So would it be as if someone basically called you a misogynist and a racist, and then when they asked you to become their vice president, you said absolutely?
No.
Of course not.
And then did he say?
By the way, Kamala Harris called Biden racist, and then yet had no problem being his VP.
When did she call him racist?
She said that Joe, at one of the debates, she said, Joe, you bragged about making deals with people who were segregationists and who were against busing. You were against busing.
Right.
I was one of those little girls who was busing.
Right.
She goes, that makes you racist. She called him racist.
She did not. She did not. And then they actually asked her, "Are you saying she's racist?" And she said, "No, she's not saying that." But of course, in the debate, if you point out, of course, in the debate, you're going to point out whatever bad points you could point out about a person. Now, you said that she said that I was one of those kids. Kamala Harris is a woman of a certain age of, let's say. So to call out somebody did 40 years or 30 years ago is a great point to point out at a debate when you're trying to fight against them. But to say that you currently think they're racist, if you ask her that question, she would say no. So I don't like to try to put words in her mouth, as opposed to what Lindsey Graham just said 4 years ago.
Oh no, okay. How about which was one of the co-sponsors of the 19 which incarcerated people of color.
People forget that it wasn't Joe Biden that introduced that bill and pushed for it to get done at the means to try to denigrate a certain racist society. There were Black leaders that were pushing to try to get that bill supported and passed because they thought it was a way to fix a problem. Later on, years later, they found out it was wrong, and it's apologetic for what happened and try to fix it. To see and think that one thing will go one way and be apologetic and try to fix it years later after it's broken is one thing, as opposed to saying that I've done something and I don't care what it is and this is still the way I think today is two totally different points. So that crime bill that everybody tries to put on him, to me, is a mistake that he made, and he owns to that mistake, as opposed to people who don't own up for the mistakes that they make and still continue to make them today.
To play devil's advocate, then Lindsey Graham said that he would have kept to that situation if not the way the Democrats basically tried to derail Brett Kavanaugh.
BS statement. I call BS on it. That's one, and that's what that statement with that one. Then what does he account to when he called Donald Trump a race baiting xenophobic bigot, and then a couple of months later,
I'll play devil's advocate. Maybe in the heat of a debate, he was trying to say stuff to win votes, and then when he found out that he wasn't, I mean, you do realize that, and maybe this goes further to your point, playing devil's advocate, that more African Americans and more Hispanics and more Asians voted for Donald Trump in 2020 than any other Republican.
I believe I read that. That has nothing to do with Lindsey Graham. I'm
not here to defend Lindsey Graham. I again am not a Lindsey Graham did one thing in 4 years. He stuck up for Brett Kavanaugh when he should have. Other than that, I am underimpressed by Brett Kavanaugh. I'm even less impressed by Mitch McConnell. Yes, Mitch McConnell has been good with getting judges on the bench if you like people who are originalists. But other than that, Mitch McConnell has really, I can't really think of a whole lot that I like.
I'm looking at his state, and the state economically is one of the poorest states in the United States of America. And then you pick and you look at him and what he's done, and then to have some type of decorum of how you see rules being played out. And this is what I say all the time too. When you see people at the top pay no attention to the rules and feel that it don't apply to them and be able to change them at a whim as they see fit, and you sign on to that, to me, you're kind of signing on to the same thing. You can do whatever you want to me because your word means nothing. I know that, and I've seen it, and I'm still going to vote for you anyway. To me, you're signing on for what you get.
I can say the same thing about Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and another 40 or 50 guys. I know because of the show we have, you got to point out the guys who wear red hats to get what you got to get. And I'm with you 100%.
Listen,
Unimpressive.
I point out what I see. If anybody can point to me other facts that I can see that's the same, I have no problem calling up in the same, whether it's red or blue or yellow, white.
So it just so happens you only happen to see about Chuck and Lindsay and the turtle. So I guess when you looked around the road, all the blue people, they were all clean and whistly and shiny to you.
Listen, just point out some things to me. To me, like this is maybe. Listen, I'm sure I can find something on each one of them. It's just the ones that I've seen in the news that sometimes that's the most egregious is the one that stick out to you. Of course, I remember things about all of them, and it's not only them. I remember about other people too, but it's the ones that stick out is the ones I speak to. Like this guy Purdue.
Well,
I didn't even know. The guy Purdue in Georgia. I didn't even know of how bad a person he was now till after the race, and I'm hearing about some of the things he did, like as far as getting the stock options when he knew about the virus, and then at the same time telling the public that nothing was wrong with it. Some of that stuff I didn't even know until now, and it comes up. So now it sticks out, of course. And I look at it and I ask, how did anybody not hear this? They're in that state. I wasn't, so I didn't know. And now I look at it and I say, how do you vote for that?
Joe Biden says he wants to help people of color, but one of the main things that help people of color is school choice.
No, it doesn't.
Dead set against it.
No, it doesn't.
Joe is 100% school choice.
No, you said that's one of the things that helps people of color, and I said no, it doesn't.
So you think making people go to school, failing schools, is a better option than giving them a chance to find a school that's better for themselves?
Yes, what you need to do is fix the schools completely, not take kids out of a school that's failing, pull the ones who have the opportunity or probably the best out of that school and put them into another location and make the schools fail even more. So now you take 10 kids out of 100 and give them a chance, and now the other 90 that are left behind are even in a worse position. No, you fix the school system in general. You're not helping the majority of people like that. You're helping a couple of people.
All right. I mean, I guess, I have to work with the teachers union to get more to get to. I mean, if you're going to fix schools, you're going to have to work with the teachers union, which I don't know what, how many teachers there are. I think most states have teachers unions. Again, I think I'm always have been a guy that giving people more choice better than giving people less choice.
Choice
you want to do it one way.
Choice is a nice marketing word that they use to put behind that. If you want to put something behind it, you could call it defund public schools would be a better word. And it won't sound as flashy, but that's exactly what they're doing. They're defunding public schools and destroying them instead of just reallocating that money so every school has enough funding so they can all be good. But it sounds good when you say it as school choice. Everybody, school choice. I listen to it too. School choice sounds good. Why don't the kids have a choice? That choice, it would be all great and fine if every kid had a choice. If that was the case, every kid in that school should be able to choose to go to the schools that the other small group are going to, but that's not the case.
Well, I think if you gave people vouchers, then everyone would be able to go where they wanted to go.
Everyone can't go. It's just like immigration. Because everybody wants to go to school. Everybody can't fit. Everybody can't go. And they don't have to accept everybody. They can pick and choose who they want. So if you want to talk about school choice and you have to take everyone that applies, now that's a different story. When you get to pick and choose and you can pick the best out the crop and leave the rest behind, and now the school is even failing more than before, then that choice is not so much of a choice anymore.
I'm in favor of school choice. School choice helps. I think school choice currently helps minority students under the current situation. I think Absolutely. If they do come up with a solution that reinvents the entire school system, then maybe yes. But as schools are currently structured right now, the easier, more efficient, immediate would be school choice.
Absolutely not.
Now, right now, we've been doing this because we're trying to get our feet wet, and we have something to say, and we hope that people want to listen. But the next year is going to be like bread and butter year for us, because there is a chance that we could, as a union, and there's enough people who are union who live in the city, that we turn a couple of, not based on party but based on platform. I don't care if you're a Republican, but pro-union, and you're going to make sure that you get prevailing wage for me, and you're from the marijuana party, I don't care. I'll make sure that you get, I want to make sure enough union people for you. That way it can, that election can go our way.
That's the good thing about when it turns over to local politics, that tribalism kind of goes away. It's not as deep. So people are willing to look and listen to what the person is willing to vote for, especially when it comes to stuff like labor. And you could kind of remove some of that tribalism. So this should be really interesting to try to see if we can get in the primary season and make these people have to adapt to union favored policies and agendas. Then we can get our union men and women rank and file behind those candidates. We should easily be able to put them in during primary season.
If you get like 5,000 votes in a primary, that could very much that could put you over the top.
Absolutely. So let's see what we can do. We got a good 6-8 months to gear up for it. So let's get it on.
I'm sure you have some people announcing this and that now, but this probably won't get heated to spring and summer.
Yeah.
Because because in these type of races, there's not going to be as much money in them, so it'll be as long as it's going to be. Vote for the primaries in June, vote the general. A lot of times the primaries in New York, I think, are in September, so you're going to get a little bit summer, and it's going to be vote your primary and then do your general.
Yeah, I mean, it's so honestly, we don't need that much people. We get some people. No. We can swing all of these elections any way we see fit.
Think about it. Sandy Cortez got voted with like less than 20,000 votes. She was like the number 4 guy in the House of Representatives on the Democratic side. She got less than 20,000 votes and beat him.
And I'm looking at all the races too. It's around the same thing. It's not that many people. And a lot of people will not come out, especially for those primaries. So you get union labor to come out, like we come out to a rally and get them to vote behind a pro-labor candidate. They won't even know what hit them. They won't even know.
True.
All right. So, I mean, that's what's coming up for us. It's 2021 now, going into the next season and these upcoming shows, and we're going to have a spotlight on a lot of these people and what's coming up. This is what we were geared for. This is what we're trying to build out. This is the New Labor Movement Show. I am one of your hosts, Troy.
I'm the other host, Ray.
And we are signing out, and we're coming.